This beam is invisible, but the second you break it, you can trigger anything. No buttons, no contact, just an invisible sensor. So here's what the setup actually does. When I run my finger between the transmitter and receiver, it breaks an IR beam and it plays a sound. This whole project idea was actually a response to a viewer asking for help with detectors for his model railroad. And here's what that sounds like.
SP detector, milepost 475.1, no defects, no defects.
Through some of this video, I'll be showing you when the sensor is activated by using an LED, just so I don't have to talk over audio tracks. This is the diagram for that setup. This is an IR break beam sensor, and it's very simple. It's a very simple sensor, but there are a few things that could trip you up. First of all, this beam is invisible. These sensors use infrared light, which you literally cannot see. So if it's not working, you can't look at it and tell whether it's working or not. The easiest thing to do is point your phone camera at it, at the transmitter. And if it's still working, you should see a purplish white glow. And if it's not working, you won't see anything. Also, the output is backwards from what you might expect. The sensor uses an NPN open collector output. And that basically means that when the beam is intact, the signal's high. And then when it's broken, it goes low. So if you're not using a pull-up resistor, your readings will float or look completely random. And also the alignment matters more than you might think it does. So the receivers have about a 10-degree detection angle. So that means even if it's slightly off, it can kill your range or make it unreliable. So you can't just eyeball it and expect it to work perfectly. As you may know, if you've worked with IR sensors in the past, sunlight can mess with these things. So because sunlight contains infrared, it can interfere with the sensor and cause false triggers. Your code needs to detect changes, not just states, because these sensors are really fast, about 2 milliseconds response time. So a fast object will give you a quick pulse, but a slow object holds the signal low the whole time. If your code just checks, is it low, it'll trigger over and over again. What you actually want is to detect when it changes from high to low. Also remember, when you're providing power to these sensors, the transmitter and receiver don't need to share the same power or ground. The signal's literally sent through the air as light, so electrically they're separate. Here's what the diagram for that would look like. You can mount these a number of different ways. In the video I'm using hot glue, but I find that these black M2 screws, they hide really well because they're flush to the front of the sensor. As you can see here, low profile. I chose the Uno R4 because of its switching regulator. It's much more efficient and it runs cooler than older boards, especially at 12 volts. Here are the power connections coming off of our 12 volt rail, and if I remove those wires from the diagram, it's easier to show you the connections for the sensors. I chose the DYHV20T because it's an all-in-one audio board. It plays WAV files and has built-in amp, and it saves a ton of wiring. You really don't need to add any extra modules. Here are some of the features of this soundboard. Follow this format when naming your audio tracks on your SD card. Here's what our connections look like. The items we're using in this video include the Arduino R4 Minima, the DYHV20T WAV and MP3 player, some terminal blocks for our 12 volt power rail, a 12 volt power connector, some male-to-male and male-to-female jumper wires. I'll be using a 1 GB micro SD card, but you can use 1 to 32 gigabytes for this. An IR brake beam sensor, a 3.5mm audio cable with OONS Angle 3 Pro as my speaker, and a 12 volt 5 amp power supply. For the main code that I'm sending to the email list, there are a few options and settings to be aware of. When debug mode is false, it's live mode, so the audio board plays. But when it's set to true, it's just a sensor test. There's no audio. The volume can be changed anywhere from 0 to 30. There are 3 modes, all of which behave a little different than the other, but only one can be active at a time. Right now, mode B is active, meaning you can trigger the sensors once. Then the audio file plays immediately, and you have to wait 1 second before you can activate it again. If I want to activate another mode, I need to comment these lines by adding the /. The lines will go gray, and uncomment the lines on line 57 to activate mode A. Mode A has no delay, so every single beam break will activate an audio track, and that's regardless of whether audio is already playing. Now we'll deactivate mode A and activate mode C by uncommenting lines 64 and 65. In this mode, once the beam is broken, a 30-second countdown begins before the audio track plays. You can also set that to whatever time you want to delay it. This section controls what you see in the serial monitor. That's all it does. Right now we can only play one track when the beam is broken, but let's say that we have 20 tracks and we want them random. Let's go ahead and comment this line out, uncomment line 172, and also uncomment random seed setup in line 241. Let's scroll down to 241 and uncomment this line so that we can randomize our tracks. Here's a fun one. This is stop playback. You can think of it like a motion activated display at a museum or a store. If somebody walks up and stands in front of it, the audio plays. Well, if they walk away, the audio cuts. And then the next person who walks up, the audio will start playing again. That's all I've got for today. If you found this helpful, be sure to like the video by clicking a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoy this type of stuff. Also, consider subscribing to the email list. Details are in the description, and I'll see you again with another video.